Hey everyone, this is TB Shores. It's July 5th, 2020. It's 11:59 p.m. I've been working on this pretty much on and off all day. There's just so much to cover. And anyway, I won't get into all that. Let's just look back for a minute to Exodus 16. One of the last things we talked about was how in Exodus 16 verse 5 and verse 22 we see this instruction about taking in twice as much, which here in verse 22 clearly states outright is about 2 omers. And when we look back at what the Lord has shown about starting a new count of the Omer, the 7 sevens, the 49 days, on May the 22nd, because that was the beginning of the kingdom age, we see that there's 6 days between the 28th, which is the end of the Omer count, and the 22nd, which is the day the Lord had us to start counting the new Omer count. That 6-day overlap where we have double counting of the Omer, because we're already into a count of the Omer there, and we are adding a count of the Omer as the Lord instructed to start counting another Omer count from that point on. So it gave us a 6-day overlap. So that's what we've been discussing. And when we look at the Omer count, as it is times 2, it makes it a double portion. And what the Lord showed me from here, first let's recap a little bit. The counting of the Omer, we learned back in the last series of videos that I did, that the counting of the Omer is all about growing in the Spirit. This is about where the Lord has shown us an overlap and a double portion. It's about a double portion in the Spirit and the light rising as the darkness is rising. As it increases, as the darkness increases, as the kingdom of darkness increases, the kingdom of light increases. And it's about where this is taking us, okay? It's about bringing us to our purpose in the Lord. We have to understand that counting the Omer is about increasing us in the Spirit. I can't say that enough. And the double portion, what the Lord is trying to show with that, is about getting us to understand where He is taking us spiritually. So when we talk about double portion, where the Lord took me, after He had me to understand that this is about a double portion, He's showing about a double portion. He had me to look at scripture in 2 Kings, where it talks about Elijah. And I'm going to start with verse 8, chapter 2, verse 8, 2 Kings. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters. And they were divided hither and thither, so that they two went over on dry ground. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, some people pronounce that Elisha, that's it. Ask what Elijah said unto Elisha. Ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. Because Elijah was going to be taken, okay? The Lord was going to take Elijah. And Elisha, or Elisha, however you say that, said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. So here we start getting some understanding about the double portion and what it's pointing us to. And it's pointing us to understand about Elijah and his mantle, and how a double portion of Elijah's spirit was, I'm trying to think of the best word, was bestowed. I guess that might be a proper choice of words here. Bestowed upon Elisha, or however you pronounce that. I always pronounced it Elisha, but I've been corrected. It's Elisha. So here we see that double portion of the Spirit being handed down to or bestowed onto someone else, okay? And that double portion was from Elijah. So when we understand that, we can see what the Lord is trying to connect us to understand with this gathering twice as much and getting that double portion, and where he's trying to point us to as to beginning with the kingdom age beginning, and understanding what this double portion, this double count, this overlap of the Omer is showing us. So as we see the double portion of the Spirit points us to the spirit of Elijah. Let's move on just a little bit. Then we look in Malachi. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. And it says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." Okay, that's letting us know that in the last days, before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes, before, key word here is before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes, the Lord is going to send Elijah. Now understand that before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, if you've watched my videos for very long, you know that some months back the Lord had spoke to me. It is dawn, and it was about understanding that it's time for the dawning of the day of the Lord. Now, with that comes things that are great, and by that I mean it's about the kingdom of light coming. It's for those who are called, who are chosen. It's about what he's going to do within us and how he's going to use us. That is a great thing. But for those who are not in that group, it becomes a dreadful day, okay? But this is talking about before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, before that dawning of that day comes. There's something has to happen. He's going to send Elijah. Okay? Now, let's, from here, let's go over here to Malachi 3 in verse 1. And it says, "Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, said the Lord." Excuse me, I'm reading that wrong. I so apologize. It's late and I'm sleepy. Let me start over. "Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple." So if you look at that and understand that there's a twofold, for the moment I'm going to call it a twofold infilling. But I'll explain that a little bit more clearly later on. But right now, let's look at it as there's a twofold thing happening when it comes to the infilling, okay? It says, "Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me." and the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. So the messenger comes, and after the messenger comes, now he comes before, okay? Just like we discussed in the other. But after the messenger comes, it says, and the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple. That is the complete infilling. Hopefully I can explain this a little more clearly later after I've introduced some other scriptures, okay? So when we understand that, and then we go into the Gospels, we start seeing many scriptures that speak of John the Baptist, okay? Preaching in the wilderness, okay? What was he saying? He was saying, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Okay, we have to understand that just as there was a messenger, John the Baptist, before Jesus began his ministry, he came, of course he came before John the Baptist started preaching, but John the Baptist had to come forth, that's what I'm trying to say, as a messenger and make the way before Jesus could start serving his purpose on this earth. Okay, so John the Baptist came first as the messenger to prepare the way for the kingdom of heaven, he said, is at hand. All right, so when we start understanding there's a messenger has to come to make the way, he came and he made the way when Jesus was here. And just as God is, he is the same always, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And we can learn from what is in Scripture, what has been, as to what he's trying to show us by that, as to what will be. I hope you can kind of follow what I'm trying to say here by this double portion leading us to Elijah. And Elijah is supposed to come before the great and dreadful day, and how that brings us to understanding that we're fixing to connect. Okay, what I'm fixing to do is connect Elijah and John the Baptist. And many of you already know this, how that John the Baptist came in the spirit of Elijah. And we'll get into that next and talk more about the specifics of understanding about the spirit of John the Baptist coming to make the way once again. All right, I'm going to cut this off here and I will talk to you later. I love you. Bye-bye.